Mr. Geiser, one of the contextual points that you raise and that I think has some force is that it's unusual for the government to impose draconian penalties on someone who is not willful. In other words, does not even perhaps know of the reporting obligation. And that's a powerful contextual point in your favor, I think. But the government comes back and says, well, but the statute has a reasonable cause provision that, in essence, takes care of people who have reasonable cause for not knowing of the obligation or failing to file the report with the accounts listed. Doesn't that reasonable cause provision take care of some of the concerns that you raise about people being penalized who didn't know about the reporting requirement or otherwise didn't know about their legal obligation?
Your Honor, it may take care of it to some extent, but obviously not entirely, because there are still non-willful violators of the Act. And
True, sorry to interrupt, but in those instances, what I think the government will say is that, in this case, the lower court said as well, it's in those instances where someone was unreasonable in failing to make further inquiry to understand their legal obligations. So there's a kind of gray area between willful and someone who didn't know at all and was reasonably didn't know at all. It's someone who didn't know but should have known because they should have done more to find out their legal obligations.
Your Honor, I think saying it's a gray area is exactly right. And the problem is these are truly draconian punishments for someone who does fit within that gray area. Petitioner here raised a reasonable cause defense. Now, he lost. But the penalty for losing shouldn't be increasing the potential statutory maximum by an order of 50.
Maybe you have a good argument that he should have prevailed on the reasonable cause. That's not the issue before us. But the point is, I think, that that is available for those people who reasonably didn't know about the legal obligation.
But again, Your Honor, there are lots of ways that someone can make a mistake in submitting these forms, including, in order to qualify the reasonable cause exception, you have to report the balance on the accounts. And so it is possible that someone simply forgot that they had an account, so they submitted an incomplete or incorrect FBAR. And that happens often. We're talking about checking accounts, savings account, potentially investment accounts. You could have retirement accounts. You could even have safety deposit boxes. It's very easy for someone to think that they've complied, and it turns out they haven't. They haven't submitted each account as they were required to do to qualify for the reasonable cause exception. And suddenly they're being penalized at an order of $10,000 a clip for every single account that was accidentally not reported.